So I encourage you to put your faith in the Christian worldview so that you can justify your beliefs, because right now you're relying on your own finite, limited consciousness that doesn't know everything, and therefore you could always be wrong about everything you think is true.
But in order for me to, for me to put my faith in the Christian faith would be to say, I believe that the one God, is omnipotent and knows everything.
Yes.
But I can't prove that myself. I can't know that myself. I would have to put faith. That's the basis of the word, faith.
Right, everybody operates on faith. You're operating on faith right now.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so let's not put faith in a worldview in which the only type of consciousness is finite and limited. Let's put faith in the worldview in which the all-knowing being tells finite consciousness what's true.
That's my point, is I can't put enough faith in the one God to say, I believe him 100% of the time, no matter what.
Well, the thing is, right, the thing...
You're a Christian and I'm not.
Okay, right, and I'm asking you to understand, I'm trying to help you understand that you can't prove anything with the current worldview that you have, and the proof of the Christian worldview is that you could not prove anything unless it's true. If there's no revelation from omniscience to non-omniscience, then...
How do you prove that statue is Nigel with God? You have to include God in your proof.
Right, I'm saying God, revelation from God is what I put faith in.
Okay, but
not just revelation from finite consciousness.
How do we know that Nigel here exists? Prove that with God.
Well, God,
prove it without God, touch.
Well, that's not proof, because you could always be wrong, because that could be an illusory experience in your consciousness.
That's true, but how do you prove he exists? Or does he not exist?
From revelation from God in the Bible that tells me that human beings exist and that they create things, and so therefore I'm justified in believing that humans created that.
So I can't believe that without God. I can't say myself, I now proclaim that human beings can create things, including the statue of Nigel.
Well, I'm saying you're unjustified in believing that because you could always be wrong, because you don't know everything. For all you know, that's just a figment of your imagination.
Can you agree that you could also be wrong about believing that God is correct?
Could that be a figment of your imagination?
No, I could.
This is here? Do you think this is real?
I mean, in the Christian worldview, there are such things as dreams, but
this is a dream.
No, I think God has created dreams in such a way that you can differentiate vast majority of the time what's real and what's not, and what's a dream.
Okay, but we arrived to the same conclusion. This is real, using different justifications. So
Right. My justification is better because I'm relying ultimately on revelation from omniscience to tell me the basic facts about reality. You're trusting in finite consciousness to tell you the basic facts about reality. And I'm saying, right, you're finite consciousness, and because finite consciousness doesn't know everything, it could always be wrong about what it thinks is true.
Yes.
And in the Christian worldview, I have justification for believing that exists because God He reveals to me that he created human beings with consciousness that the vast majority of the time is not dreaming, and that the vast majority of the time does give a correct view of reality so that I can apprehend metallic objects.
Yeah. So, but my point is, we came to the same conclusion that this metallic object exists. You come to the conclusion saying God gave me consciousness, God told me that human beings create things. Right?
He revealed in the Bible that human beings exist, and that they create things.
Your two justifications for this object existing. Now, I say it, but I completely remove God. I say, I know human beings can create things because I've seen them do it. I know that this exists because I see it. So
I'm saying in those things that you're saying are unjustified because you don't have revelation from omniscience, because it could be some kind of illusory experience. Because you can't justify any claim about the basics of reality, like without revelation from God to tell us the true nature of reality or the basics of metaphysics. We don't even there could be so many different possibilities concerning what the true nature of reality could be. Like maybe for all we know, without God's revelation, experience is just a rapid succession of nano consciousnesses that come into existence and go out of existence in a nanosecond, and repeatedly over and over again. And maybe reality is like an illustration flip book. How do you know that any given consciousness lasts long enough to have a belief that can be called knowledge, or to even say or think the words I and use the English language? We can't, without revelation from God to tell us that consciousness in humans extends longer than a nanosecond, we can't justify any truth claim. Like even just using English, like how can you say the word I if you can't prove that any given consciousness lasts long enough to say or think the word I?
how can I say I without knowing that the next 2 seconds where I say I exists? Is what you're saying? Without
Well, I'm
God.
saying because to say or think the word I requires a certain amount of time, right?
Yes.
And I'm saying, how do we know that any given consciousness lasts long enough, that period of time, to say that or think that?
How do I know the next 2 seconds are going to exist?
No, I mean, how do you know that those next 2 seconds aren't filled up with different consciousness that came into existence right after the consciousness that we're talking about? Like maybe it's like this really fast, rapid succession of different consciousnesses that come into existence one after another, creating this illusion that is just one stream of consciousness and one mind and one brain. But for all we know, I mean, that doesn't exist, and there's not this long stream of
I
consciousness.
think you're literally defining time.
I'm saying time. Because things take time,
How do
and
I know-
because consciousness exists, we have to think about how can we prove that any given consciousness lasts long enough to do what we call belief or say or think certain words. Because you could say, like, I is a singular pronoun. But what is I? When you say I, well, how do you know what it is? Because maybe what you think is I is actually constituted by a bunch of different consciousness, and maybe you should be saying we this whole time.
I'm going to need you to expound on your belief on. Let's move on to a different topic because I feel like we're getting into a circle here.
It's very important because like epistemology is the very grounding of this entire thing. Like we can argue morality all day long, but at the end of the day, morality comes down to what's the true nature of reality. And so if we can't even establish what the true nature of reality is, we have no business talking about like what should or should not be done, right?
Okay. Okay. Anyone else want to go? Okay. We started at policy and ended here. I'm noticing that there's a beginning and the end is usually epistemology for you.
Right. It always goes back to that because the conversation will never get anywhere because we'll always be talking past each other because we're using different worldviews to look at the nature of reality. So I have to I have to address things at the worldview level, the meta level. The very lens through which we view reality has to be assessed and examined in our discussion for us to get anywhere. Or we're just going to be talking past each other. It's like you have your worldview, I have my worldview. Like you're going to justify things with your finite consciousness. I'm going to justify things with omniscience revealing to me what's true. That's my worldview. So I'm going to say, well, hey man, it makes a lot more sense if we have to put faith in something. It makes a lot more sense to put faith in the worldview in which the omniscience is telling the non-omniscience what's true, as opposed to the worldview in which the only type of consciousness is finite and limited, and you don't know everything.
Okay. Can I get your opinion on the death penalty?
Yeah, Genesis 9:6 says, if any man sheds man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed, because man is created in the image of God.